Hello and welcome to Disc Golf Destinations. My name's Sean and my goal is to show you the most epic disc golf courses in the US and around the world. And so today I have a special treat for you guys. We're gonna be looking at Clark's Run, which is in the Leesburg, Virginia area. And let me tell you, this course is absolutely incredible. You step up and it just feels elegant. It feels put together, it feels well kept. It's a course that you're gonna wanna check out if you're ever in the Northern Virginia area. And so I'm so excited to show you guys this course. And so obviously you can see the drone flyer going right now. And as we get into it, I'm gonna kind of talk you through each of the holes, but this course is definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a tough course. This course is exclusively in the woods, and so you don't really get any break. You're gonna have to be hitting tight lines. But let me tell you, this course is something else. As of 2025, this course is rated a 4.7 on UDisc, which is high praise. There are not many courses that are rated a 4.7, and so walking through the course, it is absolutely magnificent. Like, it looks so well kept. The signs are top notch. The lines are tough, but they're fair. And so there's a couple iconic holes that I'm really excited to show you. I'd say the iconic holes as we get going are 8 and 10. They both are challenging, but really fun holes to play. So as you can see, we're on hole 3, par 4, 648. It's a tough one. I'm also gonna try to talk you through some of what the UDisc ratings and current stats are as well as we go through. And we are on to hole 4. It is a par 3, 423. You obviously have a tight gap. That's gonna be a theme throughout the entire course, that you're gonna have to hit a tight gap as you're going through the trees, but it does kind of come open to a little bit of a clearing as you get to the bottom. You can obviously see the shorter basket location right here, and then it kind of comes out to a clearing, if you can call it that, as we come to the bottom of the hill. Hole 5 is a shorter one when it comes to this course, because a lot of the par 3s are obviously in the 300 to 400 feet range, but this one's going to be going uphill, and it's a par 4, 477. You come up, and then there really feels like there is this big smattering of trees, and you're kind of figuring out what line you want to try. There's a couple different ways. You can obviously try to find somewhere to the left, or you want to go over the stump and have it hyzer out. And you can see the basket's kind of weaving up through there. You can see it up there to the left on the side. But this is definitely a tough hole just because of how many trees are in your path. And hole 6 is a par 3, 388. This one's a little bit more of what I would say a fun line. You're throwing straight, you can obviously see the shorter basket that's right there, but you want to go a good bit past that to get to the main layout. And it seems like a pretty straight shot. If you have a little bit of hyzer at the end, that's going to work really well. And then there's obviously some trees to contend with on the final stretch here as you get to the basket. But once again, so I was at this course early in the morning, I'd say between 6 and 8 a.m. and it was just really cool. So as we kind of keep going over the drone flyover, you're gonna see sun peering through, and so this is obviously a course that you can see is fairly wooded. It's gonna be wooded the entire time, but you're not gonna be losing disc. It's not like it's thick, dense forest. It's kind of fairly wide open when it comes to the trees, so you're obviously contending with the trees on each shot, but it's fair in that way that you're gonna come here and you're not gonna feel like you're probably gonna end up losing a bunch of discs. And then we're gonna be coming up to hole 8. This is what I would say is definitely gotta be one of the iconic holes here at the course. So you have kind of a fun throw over, you're throwing over the creek, and you have this main tree that you're contending with. And then you have a couple trees that are still in the fairway here, and you can see obviously that's where the shorter tee box is. That kind of gives you some relief from some of those initial trees, but you're throwing through this tight alley, and then you want to kind of have it hyzer up into this gap here, and it still is a decent way up through this gap. So that's why my guess it's a par 5 when it's only 659 feet, but you have to hit a couple really tight gaps, and then it obviously kind of weaves in a unique shape. So then hole 9, you're kind of getting a little bit of relief from throwing uphill. You're throwing downhill, but this is definitely not but this hole is also definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a par 4, 429, and you're throwing down initially, which has kind of a nice scenic view, but then you kind of have to climb back up the hill a little bit here as you're trying to find the basket. And once again, there is obviously a number of trees that you have to contend with and figure out kind of what gap is going to work for you. If you're more of a backhand player, forehand player, you kind of have to decide, what's going to be the line that's going to work best for you. But one thing I will say again, it's fair and it's not a place where you're going to generally lose discs because the forest isn't that dense, which is really nice. So hole 10, this is obviously, I'd say hole 8 and hole 10 are going to be your iconic holes. This is definitely a fun one to play. So you're throwing with the creek line downhill, and it's just beautiful, it's scenic. So as you kind of look through, you can see the basket there that's just beyond the creek, and you obviously want to give it the throw to get it beyond the creek, but this is the fun one to play. Hole 11, this is what I feel like maybe is a little bit of the relief stretch. So hole 11, you have a par 3, 235. You obviously have to hit the initial gap between those two trees, and then it kind of opens up a little bit more than what you typically see. A lot of the holes have tight gaps, but this one's a little more open, which is nice. And you're just kind of throwing straight up here. Hole 12, I kind of started the drone flyover a little bit to the side there just because there was some things behind. So obviously as I'm doing these drone flyovers, I'm navigating through trees, so it's not perfectly smooth, but I try to get it as smooth as I can. But hole 12 is, you get a little bit of a nicer gap to start off, and then it really narrows out here. As you can see, we're flying right through the narrow gap that we have to hit. And so you just want to find a disc that's going to be able to throw straight, something that's going to be able to give you the best flight as you kind of go straight forward. And as you can tell, there's a lot of narrow gaps here in the trees, but you got to come play this place. It is it's tough to really express how cool this place is. And 13 was kind of a fun one for me doing the drone flyover, just because you're about to see, I had a couple deer run ahead of me as I was flying. So there's a lot of obviously nature. This is nature out here, which is pretty fun. So I had some deer run across, which was a lot of fun. And so this one is kind of a fairly more open shot, I'd say, initially, and then it kind of weaves down and then back up. But it's a par 4, 639. And it's just one of those, I think, also fun holes. For me, it feels iconic just because of the deer running across, but you get an idea of like being in nature, enjoying your time out here. I just think it's a really peaceful setting out here as well. Hole 14 might feel like somewhat of a common theme, but you're throwing downhill and you obviously want to get it past the creek. Shouldn't be an issue unless obviously you hit one of these initial trees, but I think that's one of the things that makes the design so unique, is that you do have to contend with a lot of water. It also makes it a lot more scenic. So if you're a nature lover, some of these initial back 9 holes are going to be really enjoyable for you. Hole 15, you're throwing obviously another similar shape. These holes aren't super long, which kind of gives you a little bit of relief, but you obviously, once again, continue with creek lines, another par 4 in the 400 feet range, and so you kind of want to come around this turn. You can throw it straight down this gap here. There's also a kind of a bigger forehand hyzer that you can throw if you're a right-hander. That I think makes it a little bit easier to get through if you don't feel confident that you can have a perfectly straight shot. And then hole 16, you're throwing downhill a little bit. It sweeps a little bit to the right. You obviously are going to have the creek to contend with on the left. As you come through, you'll be able to see it, but it does clear out a little bit once you get to the green. I think it has a really nice setting here with the creek kind of winding all around you. And then as we get to hole 17, this one's a fun one. It is a strong dogleg right. So we're throwing over the creek, and then it tails over really sharply. So you can kind of tell, like, there's a lot of par 4s on this back 9 that aren't super long, but they're tough to contend with as you're kind of trying to navigate, okay, which trees do I miss? Which line am I going to place? This is a par 4, 411, and it's really on a big hill, so you have to watch out for this green that's going to be kind of on the hill as well. So make sure you have something that's going to fade in nicely and doesn't end up turning over and roll it away for you. And then the final hole, hole 18, you might be able to tell on my drone flyover, I was having a little bit of trouble because the drone was trying to figure out how do I go straight without going straight into the ground. But this one you're throwing uphill, and then it's going to come to a clearing right here, and you want to go back kind of into the trees as it kind of weaves around. But I hope you guys enjoyed Clark's Run. This is a beautiful course, beautifully set in the woods, Leesburg, Virginia, and hope you guys enjoyed the drone flyover, and make sure to subscribe to Disc Golf Destinations for the coolest courses near you.